There is a lot of hype surrounding Godot lately, and although this is a good thing, I feel like I should clarify some things up. Now, before you judge me, please do know that I use Godot to develop a commercial game. I'm not just a tutorial channel or a hobbyist. I trusted this engine and unfortunately it let me down. So, if you're thinking about switching to Godot, please watch this video. I hear a lot of people saying things like Godot is gonna be the blender of the game engines, and that statement couldn't be more wrong. You might be asking, but why? I heard Godot is great and everyone is switching to it. Well, yeah, and the reason a lot of Unity users are switching to Godot is not that Godot is better than Unity. The reason is that the company behind Unity sucks. Literally, that's it. Unity is a decent game engine. So what is the problem with Godot? First of all, Godot does not scale. If you want to build a big game or you're planning to use high fidelity assets, then Godot is not the right choice. Godot is horrible when it comes to optimizations. It might look good on demos, but when you start developing an actual game and bringing in a lot of high quality assets, you'll see that Godot is struggling. Your scenes will crash if you try to load complex assets, load times will increase and your project will become really slow. You'll never hear these complaints from Godot users. And you wanna know why? Because most of the Godot users are hobbyists. Godot is a hobbyist engine. The whole philosophy behind Godot is that it's made for hobbyists and people who are new to the game development. That's the only reason Godot is this popular. A lot of people pick it over other engines just because it's easier to learn, and that is correct. Godot is a great game engine if you're new to game development, but for anything serious, unfortunately, Godot is not good enough. Godot is not community driven. You know how everyone brags about Godot being open source and a community effort? Well, all that is just a big baloney. Godot is mostly run by this guy named Juan, and he literally does everything he can to make this engine worse. Let's see how he responds to someone who tried their best to improve the engine. This issue is 5 years old, but it's still relevant. This guy improves Godot and provides proof. The color he wrote is 10 times faster than what Godot had. But guess what kind of response he received from the lead developer of Godot? I'm closing this thread because I don't think it's the right way to contribute or help. Again, I really appreciate that you have good intentions, but you don't understand any of the inner workings of the engine or the philosophy behind it. Most of your comments are towards things that you don't really understand. Your tone is also unnecessarily aggressive too. Instead of asking what you don't understand or why something is done in a certain way, you just go all out arrogant. This is not the right attitude for this community. First of all, how else can you contribute to the engine? This guy literally opened an issue on GitHub where Godot is maintained and managed. This is the only way you can contribute to the engine. And then he proceeds to say that he is aggressive. I guess Juan got butthurt because a stranger could write better and faster code than he can. And then he says, for now there's not much of a point discussing anything else here, since existing code will go away in 4.0 and nothing will get merged in the 3.x branch, where at this point, stability is more important than optimizations. So in his brain, he thinks when 4.0 comes out, everyone will switch to it and nobody will ever use Godot 3 again. He arrogantly says that this code is not going to benefit anyone because they're going to rewrite everything in 4. This take is extremely wrong because there's a lot of people still using Godot 3, and it looks like he ended up listening to the suggestions and improving the engine with the idea V Blanco provided. So he swallowed everything he said. Now this story has a good ending, but there's also more features that would have benefited users that didn't go into main branch of Godot just because Juan or other managers didn't like them. Juan has a big ego, and he always acts like this. He occasionally blocks people on Twitter just because he can't handle simple criticism. Current state of Godot 4 is absolute garbage. It has tons of bugs, it's not stable, and it's not really production ready. You know why? Because developers of Godot likes to reinvent wheel. Godot developers decided to ditch bullet physics engine and write their own custom physics. And what was the result? A shit show. Current Godot physics is the most broken thing out there, and if you're thinking about building a game that depends on physics, you'll have to use a third-party add-on to get stable enough physics. Imagine relying on third-party add-ons to develop your game. Does that sound any familiar? Unfinished features. Godot has a lot of buggy and unfinished features because the developers think it would be good to have it on the engine. C# support is one of these in my opinion. I know C# is getting better and better every day, but it still lacks a lot and it's just not good enough. I can hear you saying, well, Godot is open source, you can always fix the bugs yourself or just fork the engine altogether. Oh, can I? So you're literally telling me to stop working on my game to fix all these problems Godot has. Well, good luck, buddy. That's fucking impossible. This argument is the worst I've ever seen, and it mostly comes from people who have never developed a game bigger than Flappy Bird. Like, the most you have done is follow a Heartbeats tutorial and make an 8-bit RPG game, and now you think you're a game developer and you can say things like this. No, you cannot. Now let's talk about Godot's hiring practices. What I'm gonna talk about now stinks a lot. When I first heard about this, I didn't want to believe it, but then I looked into it and it looks like it's true. The guy you're seeing on the screen is named Yuri Sizov, and he's known for bullying people on Godot's official Discord server. He's transphobic and racist, and guess what happened? Godot team ended up hiring him. So this guy is literally getting paid by your donation money. Let that sink in for a second. There's also this other guy who's known for bullying and being rude. He's still a Discord moderator, and Godot team is not doing anything about it. I'm not trying to target anyone here, I'm just saying that Godot team is doing a lot of wrong things and people should know about it. Oh, also one more thing. Juan always says that he's not contributing code to the engine and he's not doing any of the technical decisions anymore. But months ago he admitted that he is still getting paid by the Godot Foundation. And in his GitHub page it still says he is a lead developer. If you're not really involved in development of Godot, why are you still getting paid? Even if it's a minuscule amount? It doesn't make any sense. This guy literally owns a company that received millions of dollars in investment, and somehow he thinks it's okay to be paid by the donation money. Even though he was begging for money months ago, telling everybody that Godot is running out of money. So yeah, basically, Godot is not as good as you think, and Godot is definitely not the blender of game engines. Godot is more like GIMP against Photoshop. GIMP is an okay software, but there's no doubt Photoshop is way better. And most professionals will pick Photoshop because it's a no-brainer. And now you're asking, well, Godot sucks, Unity sucks, what should I use? Unreal, Wicked Engine, Flax Engine, Stride, Cocos, Default, Devi, Cave Game Engine, there's a lot of options out there. People are stuck in this little circle of Godot, Unity, and Unreal, and they think these are the only viable game engines. Nope, there are a lot of game engines, and strangely, most of them look better than Godot. I will leave the links to these engines down below, go check them out. So, that's about it.